rather Willis, but
Who the
how about
heck
that?
wants that?
Martin Hot Dude Willis. And not for necessarily the reason you think, it's
Yeah.
because we were talking about how he's hot earlier.
I was
In that, whoa,
right.
hot
Yeah.
is a term for having you're being, too much light on, like, the side of my face over here is hot because the sun's coming in. So
Yeah.
a lighting
Sun?
term, another
Not for necessarily the
showbiz
reason you
You
think.
have
term. I don't
sun?
know.
We were talking about how he's
Last
hot
year or
earlier.
last week,
I was
Martin,
like, whoa,
Right.
we're
Because the
teaching
sun's
everybody
coming
all
in.
about show
So,
business
a
lately
lighting
on the
term,
show.
another
I had on,
showbiz
of course,
You have
Doug
sun?
as the guest host, and
Okay.
Doug was. We were talking about, like, be sure to wipe your face and all these things when you do these videos. So it's kind of funny. But we'll get into UFOs. There is somebody, Indiana, who says they're new. Thank you so much for joining, Indiana. They're
Hello,
very
Indiana.
interested in the Zimbabwe aerial school UFO incident. Great case. I would say watch the latest documentary, Phenomenon, if you haven't. And that's like on, where was the best place to get that again? iTunes, right? iTunes and
if you
Vimeo.
wanted the extras, yeah, Vimeo. If you wanted the extras.
Yep, Vimeo or
Vimeo, yeah.
Vimeo. So go to Vimeo and get it, and you get all kinds of extra footage and interviews and stuff like that. But that has a great review of Ariel, and then of course a friend of ours, Randall Nickerson is making a movie.
It should be. Oh God, I've been trying to talk to him for a while, and he hasn't. We'll just see. Hopefully, it's perfect timing to put that out right now.
I hear that they're really close, so we'll see.
Well, it's been in post-production for quite a while.
Yeah. Oh, and I think it was Cameron Cashman says Vimeo and iTunes has the extras. I think it was iTunes had them, but Apple TV didn't, and that was the confusion. Another question. This person, Indiana, who's new, again, welcome, is really into knowing more about you, Martin. Martin is the host of Podcast UFO. He is a special guest, but that makes him sound more special than he is, perhaps.
Yeah.
He's a very special guy. No, actually, he is special. It just means that he is the person,
Special needs.
He's the guy who mostly joins me on Friday to go over this stuff. Sometimes when he's not around, I have some other people like Douglas Smythe from last week. However, if you want interviews from people who are also special, but maybe have expertise, like the type of person that Martin and I interview on our podcast, you'll want to look at the Rojas reports. That's where I do my interviews, and this is kind of just Martin and I or some other special guest going over the UFO news of the week. So we'll talk about that. So there we go. Did you have anything to add in this question from Indiana, who's asking, who is Martin Willis? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Wow. If you Google Martin Willis and you see anything bad, I'm not that person. That's all.
Okay.
That's enough to know.
Yeah. Great. Good to know.
There's a lot of Martin Willis's. They're right. You're right.
The problem is if they do that and they skip the bad news, there might not be much for them to read. So what better is go to Podcast UFO.
Yeah.
Right. And then you'll get all of Martin's amazing interviews. He's got a great job.
Art appraised or something like that. Yeah. There you go.
Somebody in the chat here had a dream about you, Martin.
Wow.
It is a man. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but he says, I had a dream last weekend. I don't see anything inappropriate, so let me bring this up, even though I haven't read the whole thing. I had a dream last weekend, and Martin was in it. He left my Super 8 projector in the hallway of an apartment building, and it got stolen. Martin, I think the dream involved my beating him up afterwards.
Wow. I'm not
sure.
Wake up the other day feeling extra sore for some reason, my back, and
really?
Yeah. I think someone wailed on me, I think.
Huh.
Yeah, I think that happened. Yeah.
Karen, my SO, fell asleep, I think last night watching TV or yesterday watching TV, and she was dreaming about a person, and she opened her eyes, and that person was on television. She thinks that was something she perceived in her dream before she saw this person. I, of course, believe, well, maybe she saw this person when she was halfway asleep on the show before she fell asleep, but that's kind of some kind of interesting phenomena that may or may not have happened.
Wow. Amazing.
But thank you for everybody else. Brian, Mike, we have
Hector,
somebody from Atlanta, Georgia. We have a Hector in here, Cameron, a lot of people joining. Thank you for joining live if you're able to join live on Facebook or YouTube. If not, that's okay too. I apologize. And I guess I should a little bit of the business up front. I know I'm really scattered in putting this stuff out. A lot of my interviews are kind of last minute, even though this show is pretty much the same time every week. I usually don't get a whole lot of notice when I go live. So there's two things that you can do. You can push the join button, or not the join button, the subscribe button down there. I'm pointing wrong, down here somewhere. And subscribe or follow me on Facebook or Open Minds. And then you'll get notified, especially if you hit that little bell.
We're listening
there.
to a
You can join
radio
also. If you join, you're going to get access to all the archive
of
interviews, including some
basically
big headline people,
UFOs.
like the guy who ran the Pentagon UFO project, the guy who used to work for the Senate Intelligence Committee, who helped make all the Senate Intelligence Committee get interested in this topic, that kind of stuff. James Fox, who made that documentary we were just talking about, where we talked more about RUA and the aerial encounter that Indiana is really interested in. So you'll find all of that if you join on the YouTube page. Otherwise, it's just gonna have to be this way, guys. You know, I've tried in the future to be more regimented about it, like Martin Willis is, but there's just so much going on that if I did that, I just wouldn't get as much content out. So I just want to get the content out as much as possible. I schedule the interviews when the guest is available, because some of these harder to get ones, you know, you never know when they're going to be available or how much time you're going to have. Sometimes I'm getting these interviews through network television or something, and they're like, hey, I'll give you 20 minutes at this time, and so I've just got to run with it. And I'd rather do them live. I like to do them live where you guys can join and ask questions and everything, which has been a lot of fun. So do put in your comments, ask your questions. We'll kind of get to them, but we also have a lot to go over. And Nick here makes a good point. He says, between the two of you, who has the most healthy skepticism and who is more likely to give the benefit of the doubt? And it's a great question, I think, because we are pretty skeptical. At least, you know, we take a look at this from a more journalistic point of view. And I think Martin and I, we both have a disposition in that we greatly respect the people we interview with, but we're not afraid to disagree with them or at least challenge them to prove what they're saying. Although I might be better at that than Martin is. I don't know. What do you think? Or do you think you get pretty tough with them sometimes?
Well, I did tell someone that I had to hang up on them during the show.
I haven't done that.
Yeah, but that's the only time I ever did that. I have challenged a few people, but you know, I had, like I mentioned here before, Whitley Strieber on, and there was a lot of things I could have challenged him on, and I just let him do a spiel. So there are times when I guess it depends on what I'm expecting and what I'm not expecting when I have a guest on, whether I'll challenge them or not.
Gotcha.
Or if someone is going off the rails, I have to. You know?
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, and that happens. So that's why Martin's got a bigger breadth of people he interviews. I don't anymore. I used to, but now I'm really trying to focus on the very credible, substantiated information, not trying to kind of represent the field as a whole, which is good and bad. It's good because I think you're getting some real juicy information. It's bad in that I'm probably missing out on some exciting new information that might be out there from people that I just don't feel are substantiated yet. But that's why we're a good combination, because Martin, I think, is right now more willing to interview some of the unknowns, and sometimes they're a hit, sometimes they're a miss.
Hey, we have someone new. Welcome. I'm not going to try to pronounce your name. Beleza.
From New York City.
Oh, yeah. But I mean,
Carlos.
I'm new here. So anyway, welcome.
Carlos, he said his name is also.
That's a
Yay,
different one.
welcome, Carlos.
Yeah.
So, let's answer this question. Between the two of us, who is the most healthy skepticism and who is more likely to give the benefit of the doubt? I think I have a good answer. Do you want to answer first, though?
No, I don't understand the question. Are you talking about in the field, or are you talking about between you and I?
I think both.
Between the two of us.
So, let's say we have a guest on, and they're kind of fringe, or kind of wild. Who of us is more willing to give them a benefit of the doubt? You or I?
I have a loaded question. Um,
I think that we're good complementary in that we both do equally, but not about the same things. So sometimes I'm willing to give benefit of the doubt more than you are, and vice versa. Sometimes you're like, no, I'm calling BS on this, and
oh
I'm
yeah,
like, well,
I have,
maybe. So
I have done
I
that.
think
We know we know that I
yeah,
did that pretty seriously
I've done that to you.
a while
You've done
ago.
that to me.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I think that it's hard to say. I
I
don't
just
know
have
that I could call that.
I have a problem I when I catch someone in a lie. I have a problem with that, and I will call them out, and I have called them out. When it's an out and out lie, you know, when someone is telling a story that sounds kind of outrageous, I can't say it's a lie. I don't know for sure, but when I know for sure it's a lie, I call them out.
Yeah,
I'll
I
put it
think
that
we're
way.
both in that, but I think that yeah. Let's see. Brian says you guys are both good. Martin a little more lenient. It's kind of funny because in the issue I know you're thinking about where you're really hardcore, you were less lenient. But yeah, if you guys want to um, chime in on that, do so. Martin is the embodiment of restraint, and I have been going off, I guess. I in fact, on a couple of I even addressed this the last show, is that some people were complaining that I'm just like complaining about other people too much. I defended myself in that, Ed Astra saying I'm more lenient. I defended myself in that I'm just trying to warn you all that all this BS that's made up and all this fantasy that's created in UFO Twitter and social media is just complete fantasy. We've had these articles kind of leaked out that these articles with some great information is coming out. The UFO community and UFO Twitter goes crazy with wild speculation that is just complete fantasy, just complete ridiculous fantasy, and it destroys the impact of the article when it comes out, at least for the people who listen to that sort of thing. So my point is, don't listen to that. Stick to the facts from the people who are actually writing the story, and then you'll have a better idea of the gist of the story, and you won't be disappointed or have false expectations when the story actually comes out.
Now, when you say UFO Twitter, are you talking the general Twitter feed? On
No,
UFO,
there is no
or
general
is there a UFO Twitter handle?
UFO Twitter.
There's a handle UFO Twitter.
There is a handle, and I think there's a community of people on Twitter that consider themselves UFO Twitter. In fact, Luis Elizondo, just yesterday, he's the guy who ran the Pentagon UFO project called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, also known as ATIP,
Listening
follow-up
to a
program from
UFO
the
podcast.
Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Application Program, also known OSAP, which was the original program. Harry Reid, the senator, was able to get.
And these guys take
$22
UFOs
fund,
very seriously.
Luis Elizondo did a little video saying, "Hey, UFO Twitter, happy holidays, see you next year," type of thing. So that's an example. He used that term just kind of on this Twitter video because it's just a thing, kind of a community of people out there.
How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was kind of confused when we were talking about something a few weeks back, and you kept saying UFO Twitter was bugging you, was really bothering you at the time about an article.
Oh yeah. And we'll kind of maybe touch on. No, we probably won't touch on that because it's such old news. But let's see. Shawnee is saying, do you guys think that we're spending too much time and effort on the question of UFOs? Do UFOs exist? I thought we were well past that point. What do you think? I have a clear answer for that, but I'll let you handle that first.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious they exist. So yeah, I would think there's maybe a little too much, but I mean, I guess how I'd answer that is it depends on the platform you are speaking to. The general public, I think, still needs to be convinced. If you're here, you don't have to be, or if you're looking into the topic, you don't have to be. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, and I would say definitely not. I think we're not past that point at all. If it were well accepted in society, I think that that would be different. But I don't think we're well past that question at all, and that's why that question's so important. And that's, you know, for example, this is a realization that's what's shocking about right now. This is a realization that the Senate Intelligence Committee has come to, is that UFOs pose a real threat and it's a real phenomenon. And now they're reacting by asking the military intelligence community for more information, which has resulted in the creation of the UAP task
Keep
force.
right,
And,
then exit right.
you know, you were referring to this article from Tim McMillan in the debrief earlier, where allegedly the UAP task force has written a couple of reports in the last couple of years that were distributed to the intelligence community and got the intelligence community really excited about the topic also. And it got them also to realize that it is a real phenomena. So we're a lot closer in the last few weeks, even in people having the realization that it's a real phenomena. But until that's wider, I think it's really important. Until we have, you know, for me, my goal is until we have things like, you know, scientific institutions, academic institutions doing real research in this area, we won't be there yet. Talk about the Roswell story on the History Channel. I will talk about that because I wrote an article on it, and it's one of the topics I do want to talk about. So we'll get there. But I do want to address.
We missed one up above.
Well, yeah, I don't want to answer all the questions.
I just have to say one thing.
Go for
I
it.
have a non-autofocus camera that's going into blur right now. So
It's going. You've got it in blur mode.
it's weird.
You've got an automatic unfocusing camera.
Yeah.
So no matter where you go,
Yeah, they're
it
pretty
makes
special.
sure you're not in focus.
They're hard to buy. They're hard to find.
Yeah, they are. I keep finding these dang autofocus ones. I can't find an auto unfocus. But a couple, just to kind of overview, there's some questions in here. Dr. Stephen Greer, you know, someone asking about what about these hacks? Does it have anything to do with UFOs? Someone saying, is there going to be a fake rapture? All of those are the type of things we don't really talk about that much because they're just totally, there's absolutely no evidence for any of those things. Although Dr. Stephen Greer does exist, there is evidence of that. But the things that he purports, the wild conspiracy theories, there's just zero evidence. It's just wild conspiracy theory. And we've had that for years. That's going to get you nowhere except for laughed at. But, you know, we're working on the actual credible substantiated information that is out there. So Luis Elizondo refused to answer that question. I don't know. I've interviewed Luis Elizondo quite a lot. Let's see. And okay, so that's enough. I don't see any other questions. Feel free though, Martin, if you see a question in there you want to address, you know, I don't
Well,
mind
there
that.
is one. The one I did want to address.
Yeah.
Is just one that a lot of people ask when they're new in this, and basically, if you, I can't find it right now because there's a lot of posts. But if UFOs do exist, what do you think they are? Extraterrestrial, etc. What is your opinion? And that's, I think that's a question that's asked quite a bit.
But I mean, what do you answer that then?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
really
would
don't know.
agree. Unidentified. It could be. I think in many cases it's misidentified stuff that's ours. In many cases it's misidentified cosmic phenomena. You know, astronomical meteorites, that sort of thing, satellites, that sort of thing. Could it be people from elsewhere, civilizations from other countries? I don't know. Something from other dimensions, something from the future. I think a lot of people make great arguments for all of those things. But in science, especially in space science, the answers are often something we completely never even considered or thought of. I mean, on the regular basis, people in space news, they're like, holy cow, we didn't know this was out there. We didn't know about this. So, you know, there's a lot of questions out there.
That's true. Yeah, we're not.
Yeah.
We may not
These
be
guys are
asking
getting
the right
like
question.
X-Files out there.
There you go. Someone says, so if you're new, you don't deserve to be answered. I'm not sure why someone would say that. Sometimes people say that, and I don't understand why they say that. I'm just kind of letting you know what we cover here, and if it's really fringy conspiratorial stuff that has no backing, sure, we're not going to speak to it. So that may not be your cup of tea. Maybe it is, but if you have a question about a specific incident or a specific issue, or you want to argue, hey, I think this makes this credible, hey, let us know. We'll talk about that. There's really,
We like new
if you-
people.
yeah, we love new people, and if you have ever heard any of my interviews, I'm never afraid of any question, really. So, but let's get to, I guess, some of the news of the week, and not to be, because some people have asked about it. Let me cover a couple of the things that I did this week. First of all, if you go to in this YouTube channel here, I did a Rojas
Tank is
Reports this week. The
full.
Rojas Reports is essentially where I do interviews, and I also try to do some presentations and lectures in there. And what I did this week, sort of for the holidays, was ETs and religion, how essentially belief in extraterrestrial life has affected current religions and has inspired new ones. And I also address in there what the
Turn left.
I'm turning
different
left.
religions,
Just give me a
believe about
second
this
to
topic
turn
and
left.
an actual survey on how the announcement of extraterrestrial life may affect religions. And the answers, I think, will surprise you, because a lot of people believe that religions are just going to go nuts. Everybody's going to go crazy. Not necessarily. That's not what the numbers show out. And if you ask everybody, are you going to go crazy? Are you going to doubt your religious beliefs
Turn right.
if you find out?
Turn
And of
right.
course, most of you in here are like, well, I already believe there's probably extraterrestrial life out there. It hasn't affected me. So, no, I don't think there's a problem. So, and that's your answer. I think a lot of people do feel that way. So,
Yeah, I think that's overhyped that would happen. Because a lot of times you hear people will argue, well, there'll never be disclosure because the government's too afraid that it's going to destroy, society and religions and all that. And I don't think that's the case at all. And I think